We'll get some stuff from PPC. We'll get some stuff through now TV ads, which we've been doing for 3 months now and been seeing good results from. And probably the most exciting, which is going to be underplayed and people are going to be like, oh yeah, that's cool. But it's a serious game changer.
Former San Diego Charger tight end and now turned real estate investor, Dean Rogers. Awesome to connect with you, man, and get to chat with you here. And originally getting linked up about a year ago and talking. I've really enjoyed our conversations and overall very, very cool dude, man. I appreciate your time today, spending it on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. We always have fun talking and have a lot in common, a lot of similar passions, and you know, it's always fun talking with you, man.
Absolutely, man. Well, dude, tell me a little bit about Mr. Dean Rogers' family landscape, and then we can kind of talk about business, everything that you have going on before we start talking about football pass, NFL, and kind of what's making you successful in real estate these days.
Yeah. So for me, you know, I'm all about trying to build lifestyle, you know, and being able to, I'm working my ass off now for sure. I haven't figured it out perfectly yet, but the game plan is certainly to scale myself out to where I have enough passive income and a good active income business that's continuing to run more on its own. And we're really building up a lot more past couple of years to be able to do that. But ultimately just, I like to be active like you are as well. I like to play sports still. My kids are super high energy and like to get in it. So we're always at the beach. We're here in La Jolla, so we're always at the beach, getting sandy, getting in the water. We like to go on hikes. So I'm trying to live the golf cart lifestyle. I bought a golf cart, and so we cruise the beach in that, and just trying to do that every day. Like wake up. I'm all into, you know, health and wellness, being an athlete. And so trying to take care of myself. I almost hesitant to say this on a podcast, but I just turned vegetarian after watching the Game Changers on Netflix.
Yep.
So it literally was checking all the boxes for me. And I'm trying to live as long as I can, as healthy as I can, so that when I am old, you know, I'm having fun with my kids, my grandkids. I'm active, still able to get in it. So that's what I'm trying to do, man. Just create a fun lifestyle where I can have create a lot of great memories and create a lot of great wealth for my current life and for my kids to go pass on.
Amazing, man. And just real quick, what's the family structure there? You mentioned kids and wife. What does that look like?
So me and the high school sweetheart, married, we found each other junior year. My parents went out of town for a Tahoe trip to go skiing. We never really ever went to the snow, but randomly that year they wanted to. I was supposed to go, but stayed behind for a basketball tournament. They shouldn't have done that because I found my high school sweetheart after one of the games at an after party, and history from there. So we married a month out of college before I went to the NFL, and you know, we're still kids at heart. So we thought we were gonna have kids young, but we grew. I was, you know, super focused on building my career, and my wife was getting her footing in her career too. And then she got the baby fever, and then it was game over from there. So we've got 3 kids now, 5-year-old boy, almost 3-year-old boy, and then got a 3-month-old girl now too. So it's a full busy house. It's crazy.
Amazing, man. Yeah, you got a 5-man Rogers basketball squad.
We're on defense, offense. We got to play both ways, man. We got to be all-stars, offense, defense.
I love that. As a side note into book market for us just chatting later, I'd love to hear about what made you switch to a vegetarian type diet. I'm massively into nutrition. I've seen the Game Changers documentary with Kenny Stills and other someone else who catches passes for a living, or is caught passes for a living. But super interesting stuff. And I'm getting my blood. I had my meeting with a doctor at a sports performance place where they analyze 200 something different between cells, genes, and other things. They analyze like 200 different variables with your blood that I got drawn about a month ago. So
you have to tell me like what the specific test is so I can go order that too. I love that kind of
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah, and I probably could find something in your neck of the woods as well, just from some people that I know out there that are really into that. But I'm like
Totally.
nerdily, if that's a word, excited just to sit down with like a sports performance doctor and see everything that's going
Yeah,
on with my blood. Because me and Strat are big. I don't know if you did too, the 75 hard. So I wanted to
I
get my
saw him do
blood
that. Yeah.
drawn. I wanted to get my blood drawn after finishing that, just to see how everything's running and if there's anything that can be optimized, which is a style of life that we'll talk about today with Dean and what he has going on business wise. So you're doing a little bit of, or you're doing a lot of almost everything. I guess what are you into right now as far as real estate investing? Before we take it back to the high school sweetheart years and staying back to the basketball tournament and playing some ball in high school and college and everything.
Yeah. So the business right now, and it's evolved over time, but we're mainly wholesaling single family houses. We'll run across some small unit multifamily. We have marketed to multifamily, large multifamily in the past, but our main footing is in single family houses. We wholesale 10 plus a month. Any that pencil and make sense for rentals we'll keep. We've got 54 doors or so that we have for rentals. And that's just in the past 2.5 years. At the beginning of 2018, the kind of light bulb went off. Hey, I'm running hard, but when am I going to stop running? And if I do stop running, what's going to be left? So I started acquiring rentals with my business partner. And so we've got 54 doors now since starting in 2018. And yeah, so just focusing on wholesaling. The market is really crazy hot right now. So we have we have arguably one of the best buyers list in the entire Central California, Central Valley area. So we'll expand more on that in a little bit. But anything that makes sense as a rental, we'll keep. Anything that's a quick, easy lipstick, like do almost nothing to it, flip, we'll take down and purchase it ourselves. Other than that, we just know from having done 20 flips at a time and flipping 100 houses a year that we're really best at finding deals and that transaction-based business than we are with my partner who's boots on the ground in the Central Valley. His skill set is more around the deals, finding deals, than it is and negotiating deals, going on appointments, locking those up, than it is managing projects. So we realize, hey, we're inefficient in that area unless we do one or two at a time. So that's where we're
Very
at.
cool. Very cool awareness that I think is almost mandatory trial and error for anybody probably getting into any business, but we'll stick with real estate investing.
Yeah.
Is going to have to go through, and they can make those educated pivots from there and kind of double down 80-20 principles, which you talk about all the time, the name of the show, and figure out kind of what's going to give them the most output for their skill set and what they enjoy doing and what they're best at. Before we dive in, Dean, to strategy and how you've gotten to the point of doing around 10 deals a month and up to 54 units and things like that, let's talk about your past as an NFL player, because you do not have a unique path to being a real estate investor like me, like somebody that goes to college here, listens to Rich Dad Poor Dad, gets introduced to a wholesaler friend, and then just started doing that my first job out of college. Let's talk about high school, college, going to the NFL, all that good stuff, and kind of what led you to success. I get there's a lot that I could get out of you, but I guess we'll start there. Just college, at going to UC Davis, or maybe we can even talk about from high school going to UC Davis.
Yeah. So going back to high school years, being one of the top athletes in the Central Valley and, getting all the accolades and having success. I played running back in high school because I remember I had first came in my freshman year. I played running back. I kind of wanted to play quarterback, but realized I was good at quarterback, but my arm strength was good. I had really good arm strength, but I still felt like I'd be better in a more skill position. So started as running back. Then I went to varsity my sophomore year, and then someone had got injured. So I played tight end for a little bit, and then realized I wanted the ball more, like at least half the time that the ball is being snapped. So I went back to the coach. I was like, hey, I want to play running back. So when played running back my junior, senior year, and, you know, scored a bunch of touchdowns and records and all that kind of fun stuff. So got the recognition, but college scouts were looking at me more for that tight end position. And so I was really under recruited. I was looked at by the Fresno States and the Boise States and Notre Dame and Louisiana Tech and who was it? Brown over on the East Coast and some other places. But UC Davis seemed like it was the best track for me to not only, you know, start playing right away, but also had the school side of it as well, right? Had a big checkbox there for, all right, someday I'm going to be done playing football. So what's going to give me the best path, you know, on paper for representing I went to a good school too. So I went to UC Davis and played tight end there, you know, started right away after my redshirt year, and did great there, and, you know, made the first team All-Americans, all that stuff my senior year, and had the teams looking at me since my junior year. So, but a kind of ongoing theme that kind of plays into real estate that I'll just mention here is being under recruited in high school, going to a smaller, you know, football college, where, you know, sometimes the students who were very academic didn't even know we had a football team, or, you know, we had only a 15,000, 20,000 person capacity stadium, and it wouldn't even be filled all the way sometimes at home games, would like piss me off. And, you know, kind of like put a chip on my shoulder. So I'll come back to that later. But, you know, then being recruited by different NFL teams, you know, I got picked up by the Chargers, and it was the year of not only the lockout, but as we've talked about, it was the year that the story broke on concussions. And I had two minor ones in college. You know, I wasn't getting concussions all the time, and I wasn't like feeling a ton of effects, but I had some concussions, and I'd felt, you know, what those side effects were. And so I was conscious of it. And then the story broke. I remember, you know, training in Fresno with some other, you know, NFL athletes and soon to be NFL athletes. And, you know, just after some of our training, we go watch TV and kick it and play like water basketball during the day and just goof around. But I remember watching ESPN, and the story came out, and I was like, well, this is the first time they've ever really talked about concussions. It's always just been like a hush hush thing. But now there's, you know, like a lawsuit around it, and there's all these stories coming out, and it kind of woke me up a little bit. I wasn't in the NFL yet, but it was just before. So then as soon as the lockouts lifted up, Chargers call me, and, you know, I remember I almost went out of town that weekend too. It was it was a Friday. Me and my brother-in-law, my wife had just went out of town for a bachelorette party. My parents went out of town for I can't remember what. So me and my brother-in-law were hanging out, and we roll up to his house, and I get a call from my agent. He's like, "Hey, got your bags packed?" It's like, no. Why? The Chargers are about to call you. Holy shit. That's cool, man. Like I actually got chills right now just thinking about it.
Amazing.
And so sure enough, they call me a minute later. Dean Rogers. I'm like, yeah. Like, you ready to be a San Diego Charger? I was like, yes, coach, let's do this. So hang up, and me and my brother-in-law are jumping around the living room, like hugging each other, like little schoolboys, just like going crazy, all hyped up and everything. It was hilarious. So I'm like, oh, what the heck do I do? I'm like, I got to get my ass home. I got to pack my bags. My flight's at like 7, 8 in the morning. I got to drive 45 minutes to the airport. So I get home. I'm like trying to go to bed. So I roll up, and I remember the first day I get there, and the veterans get there first. That's how it works. Like, you know, your rookie year. So the veterans are there already, and they were practicing. So they're like showing me around. They're taking me to all the coaches, introducing me. I got to do my physical. They're introducing me to players, and, you know, kind of like driving me around and everything. And I remember rolling up the first day and looking at all the players. Now, again, I went to a smaller college, but so one of the biggest notable things besides skill players is the linemen. When you go from like your top D1 schools, every lineman is massive.
Yeah.
When you go to like your run of the mill or D1 AA, which we were, the linemen are noticeably smaller, whereas the other skill positions are just about all the same as you would see in the NFL. But I roll up and I remember seeing a lineman like, holy crap, like, am I going to be able to play with these guys? Because these are massive human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And I had like those nerves like the first day. And then I remember the second day, they don't mess around. It's like, hey, strap up. You're playing now. Like, there's no like warm up. Like, hey, let's get back into the groove. It's like, here's your helmet. Practices in 2 hours. You know. So got all my gear, and I remember the first play I was in. It was, and they signed me as fullback / tight end. The first play we run a counter, and I come around, and on this blocking play, my blocking assignment was blocking Pro Bowler Bob Sanders, right? So he was with the Chargers at the time. Safety Bob Sanders. And so he comes flying down like a missile. And I remember we just blow each other up, and I blocked him really good. And North Turner like threw his clipboard. He's like, yeah, Rogers. Like he was like super stoked and lost his shit. And I was like, okay, cool. Like it just took that first play to be like, all right, we're in it. Let's rock and roll. And from there, played amazing, man. Felt great. Was playing great. North Turner was stopping me in the hallways. Hey, Dean, you're going to have a long career, and did that multiple times. So here I am thinking like, all right, dude, you made it. Like, this is awesome. And at the same time, just beating my head in, playing more fullback than I was solely tight end in college.
Mm-hmm.
Now being like 10 yards away, running full speed at a dude who's just as fast as you, just as strong as you, just as big as you. It's like it's like a freaking train wreck, you know? And so I remember just going back after practices and like icing my head, because I literally could feel some of the effects. And so everything neck down felt amazing. Neck up, I was starting to feel those effects. So it made me start to think about it. And then, as I've shared with you, Junior Seau killed himself that year,
Mm-hmm.
which is still crazy to think about. But he would come to practices. He had just retired. He would kind of hype us all up and, talk crap to us too. And, but I just remember like talking to some of the other guys, seeing some of the other vets around, even Junior Seau, like I could start to see some of these effects. And now being more in the fullback position, I could kind of see the writing on the wall. So the long story short, I decided to hang up the cleats and make that decision, which was crazy hard to do, because being there and making it and like living out your dream was everything I could imagine it was. And just that lifestyle was insane. It was awesome. Like it was like stuff you see out of like Ballers on HBO. Like it's just, it's a whole nother world, dude. And it's crazy what you have access to, and the money you can make, and the relationships you can build. And it was a tough decision.
Yeah, man, I'm sure. And you don't, for those listening, Dean doesn't have it too rough at all these days, hanging in La Jolla, and lives a beautiful life out there. But absolutely fascinating journey to, full-time real estate investor, going the NFL path and experiencing that, getting your hopes up, having high expectations when the head coach, North Turner, is telling you, you're going to be a stud, you're going to have a long career, playing with a lot of awesome people like Antonio Gates and Phillip Rivers, Bob Sanders. I think he was even a Pro Bowl safety for a few years. One thing that you said that I know that you and Strat have talked about is being able to use a chip on your shoulder, which is, you've seen all over, you see that all over the place. People talk about Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, and the Jordan documentary that came out a year ago. Anybody, a lot of people, even Grant Cardone's, people like that, that's something that's been big for you, going from football into real estate, you think?
100%. Yeah. So I think what sports gave me is structure, like being very disciplined, from nutrition, from, habits. I'm not going to say I'm perfect in every single way, but, just having a good discipline around putting in the work consistently over and over and over and over and over again. And then just having the mindset of like, I think if this is mostly true in most athletes. Some are just gifted beyond belief and skills, and they don't have the mindset and still make it, some way or another. But most athletes have the mindset that they want to win, they want to succeed, and they want to push the limits, both physically and mentally. And so some athletes, when they stop playing sports, they kind of lose that because they lose their passion and they feel lost. And fortunately for me, it happened. I found my passion really quickly. So when I transitioned to the professional working career, I quickly realized going into the corporate world, like you are not in every case, but in most cases, and at least the position I joined into, you are very limited. Like this is what you're going to make. And there you go. This is what you're going to make. If you work your ass off, which I remember doing the first year and in my mind thought, all right, cool. I'm going to see a big promotion. Like I'm going to, move on to this next chapter. It's like, no. That's not how it works. And for me, I remember being in my 424 square foot studio in San Francisco with my wife and thinking to myself, like, okay, this isn't going to be scalable to what lifestyle I want. And seeing the lifestyle I could have in the NFL and just the drive that I had and the chip on the shoulder that I continue to have and keep to drive myself, it wasn't going to provide the lifestyle I needed. So I remember going on just Google and typing before I did it, thought just like, what are some passions that I have? What are things that I like? And just remember back to like Dean Graziosi on late night TV and thinking about like, what are things that I like? And so those kind of just stuck around in my mind. I thought about real estate, how to get started in real estate is what I typed in Google. And I found Sean Terry, who's a master at wholesaling houses and has been around for a long time and dominating. And so I just found him, saw that he had a free podcast, just started listening to the first one, episode 1, and became insanely obsessed to where, I was waking up in the middle of the night just to go re-listen to a podcast to like try to understand the concept of like wholesaling and assignment contracts and like, what do these contracts even look like? What does escrow process even look like? And so I just kept going deeper and deeper and took action right away. That was the biggest thing for me. I took action and literally did everything he said in these free podcasts. And a great story on that is I ended up doing my first deal within 3 months of deciding I'm going to start and pressing play on the first podcast. It took me 3 months, and it was actually co-wholesaling a deal with Sean Terry in his market. By me listening to what he said and doing exactly what I said, I literally even did it in his own market because that's what he was telling me. Like, this is a good area to market to, and this is a good blah, blah, blah. And so I ended up not finding a buyer right away, going to his website, entering in the address. His acquisitions guy called me and then put, hey, let me have Sean call you. So got Sean on the phone, and lo and behold, sold it. And we split $12K.
Amazing, man. I absolutely love that. I think part of the mindset towards the beginning of your response, the best way I can formulate it is having a long-term approach, realizing that you're going to do things consistently day in and day out, and having the faith that it's going to pay off in the long, like you're going to get a return on those actions and activity and knowledge and education that you're going to put into it on a day-to-day basis. And like you said, with rituals, habits, nobody's perfect. I talk about that stuff at length. I'm not perfect by that in any means, but amazing mindset that you're able to use there and just become obsessed with it, which a lot of people talk about. That's how I learned wholesaling. Dan, the Investor Fuse founder, that's the very first assignment he gave me, was starting off the Sean Terry podcast back in 2013. So absolutely amazing story. You're actually able to do your first deal with him and make $12K each. It's very, very cool. So let's keep it going, man. Did your first deal with a wholesaling real estate legend, Sean Terry. How did we get from first JV deal to scaling it up to 10 deals a month?
Yeah, so I actually started in 2013 as well. That's exactly
Oh,
when I
nice.
started. Yeah, and so I've been basically a year deep working in the corporate world. Then stumbled upon Sean Terry, and then I just went full force, man, and wholesaled a couple handfuls of deals that first year. And then what happened was, so I was living in San Francisco, but the market that I knew and what I encourage new wholesalers to do is start where you know.
Hmm.
Because I was living in San Francisco, what am I going to send postcards to these like $5 million houses that are POSs? There's people doing it and making great money, but I didn't really understand the housing market there. It
Hmm.
was just kind of like real choppy to me. And I knew exactly, it was like tract homes built in the 70s and the 80s and 90s and so on in the Central Valley. So it was really easy for me to put my mind around it. So I started marketing there, was doing the deals there. And then I remember walking my dogs one day and I saw a for rent sign. One of the strategies for any new wholesalers, basically call everybody, right? So I
Hmm.
called the landlord and said, "Hey, are you interested in selling your house?" It was the property manager. He said, "No, let me put you in contact with the owner." So owner who called me is actually my business partner today.
Oh,
And
nice.
so we started chatting. Oh yeah, man. Hey, yeah. Anything you bring, send it my way first. I'll buy it for sure. I'm your guy. So he was one of my top buyers for a handful of deals. And then he's like, "Hey, man, you want to flip houses together? I like what you're doing." I was like, "Sure, let's do it." So we got started. We started flipping houses. You might hear in some other podcasts, I tell some of my no, don't do this stories where the first couple flips we did, he was like, "It's getting a little slow in the valley. I know you did some wholesales in Phoenix, Arizona. You want to flip some houses out there? Hell yeah, let's do it." We bought 5 houses in a month, and three of them out of two of them we made money. The other three we lost a ton of money. We lost 100 grand on the first three deals, which was not a fun way to get experience in the real estate flipping game. But it was like I did everything wrong. Like bad contractors, they did bad work, had to redo the work,
Hmm.
bought the house on the wrong side of the street, like all the no-nos of rushing in and doing it the wrong way. So
Good learning
uh,
lessons.
great expensive learning
Good
lessons.
100K learning lessons.
Yeah, exactly. So did some of that, but then we started doing it right back in our own backyard in the Central Valley. Scaled to flipping 20 houses at a time and doing 100 a year for a couple years, and then at the end of 2018, I just there was like a month where the interest rates went up, and I felt the market kind of like uh, uh, tweak a little bit, and it made me pucker a little bit and say, "Ooh, you know what? We're running these deals over budget, over time. We're getting kind of sloppy because we got too many. Our skill sets are really around finding deals and finding great deals. Let's go back to wholesaling." So 2019, we kicked off right with focusing full force on wholesaling. And then I mentioned to you before, beginning of 2018, I realized, all right, we need to buy rentals. We need to be focused on long-term vision. And my partner already had rentals, but we need to acquire together. So we've got 54 doors now since the beginning of 2018, and then been really hitting wholesaling hard. And we will do an occasional flip here and there as well. That's real quick and simple.
Very cool. So yeah, that's kind of what we were talking about a little bit earlier. The almost mandatory trial and error of whatever business you're in, kind of finding out
Yeah.
your sweet spots and the 80/20s, which was finding deals for you guys, which led to
Yeah,
you
you got to be
pivoting to
honest
more
with yourself.
wholesaling.
Some people are going to crush it in wholesaling or flipping or rentals. That doesn't mean it's going to work for you, either based on your skill set or just what God has in plan for you. So
Hmm.
you gotta focus on what's working for you and maximize that, and continue to build your skills in the other areas.
Awesome. Well, dude, let's break down the offense, defense, and special teams, if you will, of the wholesale operation, what you got going on now. If we can kind of just talk about all the different aspects in that, and might as well start off with lead generation and marketing, what you
Yeah.
got
So
going on there. What's
marketing,
led to success?
since the beginning, I've been doing direct mail, the tried and true that Sean Terry was
Hmm.
teaching a lot about. And for years worked amazing. Like was pretty much all we were doing is just direct mail. Would get a handful of deals from that a month. It's slower now on direct mail just because there's so much education around getting into real estate, and so there's a lot more competition. Most people are kind of in and out and don't really stay for the long term, but we still do direct mail. It's the long-term play. It's expensive. You got to stick with it and just keep doing it, and it yields results, So we've been doing direct mail and continue to get deals through there. We've been doing cold calling for the past probably year and a half, and we'll get deals here and there from there. We'll get some stuff from PPC. We'll get some stuff through now TV ads, which we've been doing for 3 months now and been seeing good results from. And probably the most exciting, which is going to be underplayed and people are going to be like, oh yeah, that's cool. But it's a serious game changer, is the relationships, the networking deals that we're getting just from wholesalers and other investors and agents. But primarily wholesalers, new and experienced, is probably the most exciting because those are like evergreen deals.
Mm-hmm.
It costs you no money to essentially get that lead besides your time, investing in the relationship. But there's no marketing dollars out for that. And then kind of the way that we're able to build these great relationships and add a ton of value is we're basically offering every resource that we have in our company to these people. So there's a couple scenarios. There's the wholesaler that comes to us with a deal and says, hey, I already have it under contract. Can you disposition this for me? And then we'll sell it, and in most cases for top dollar, because we have really, really strong buyers. So they're getting the most out of it, and we keep it simple. We'll just split it 50-50 no matter who's doing more of the heavy lifting. The other scenario, which we love to do just as much, is when a wholesaler, new or experienced, comes to us and says, hey, I just got a lead. Here it is. What do you think the ARV is? What do you think the repairs are? We'll put all our time into getting that information back, and then we'll even call the lead. We'll go on the appointment. We'll get it under contract, and then take care of the dispositions as well. And same deal, 50-50 split, but we're happy to do all the heavy lifting because we just like doing deals and we know how to get it done. And so those are the two most common scenarios. And we even have people come to us where it's like, hey, I had this sold, the buyer fell out. Do you think you could sell this? What do you think? And most of the time we'll get those things sold really quick as well. And, even more than what they had under contract to sell for. So people are kind of noticing us in the Valley, and for that, being really strong at being able to get the deal sold for top dollar and being able to add just a ton of value and helping structure the deals, putting them together and making sure that they close and we all make, the money that we're looking to make. So.
Amazing. At this point, are wholesalers just reaching out to you just from marketing that you have and maybe searching online, sell my house? And
a lot of it's word of mouth.
Okay.
A lot of it's word of mouth. I'll just get a text message or a Facebook message and say, hey, I heard about you.
Mm-hmm.
Would love to chat with you. And so that's how a lot of these conversations will start, is just through word of mouth. And then wholesalers are on the different Facebook groups, and they'll post out there saying, hey, I got a deal in such and such place, or hey, I'm looking for cash buyers. Usually I'll just reach out and say, hey, would love to chat with you. Cool. And just tell you, what we're all about. We'll either buy your deal from you, or hey, give us a shot. We'll probably sell it for way more than you thought you could, and can help you out in that way too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I wanted to see if there was anything somewhat SOP around proactively finding these wholesalers that you could deal with. And that's what we were saying before we started recording, that's like one takeaway that everybody should be doing. Have some type of emphasis, spending some type of time in thought of how you could work on your relationships with other wholesalers, other investors to partner on deals and things of that nature. Because like you said in your own words, it's essentially an evergreen marketing source.
Yeah. And this goes back to just your mindset around the long term. is
Mm-hmm.
when I first started and having such a big chip and like wanting to reach for success and get to that next level and feel like I was back at a point of like a success level of like being in the NFL is the ultimate, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then almost in some sort of sense feeling like I had to start all over. Like, hey, as military would put it, I'm a civilian now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I use the same term as well, except with people that aren't in like real estate or entrepreneurs. I call them like
yeah,
civilians, like a loving Godfather slash military way, same way.
yeah, 100%. So I
Mm-hmm.
really do believe there is a difference. And so kind of entering into that world, I wanted to reach for that level again. And when I was starting out, it was kind of, I felt like it was kind of me against the world, you know, like I wanted to crush, push, you know, elbow out all the competition out of the way. But over the past couple of years, my mindset has 100% flipped upside down, and it's so much better to have an abundance mindset that is inclusive of everybody. You know, like there's no reason why me and a bunch of other people in town can't crush it together. Like
Mm-hmm.
let's lean on each other. Let's leverage each other. Let's use each other's resources and skills. And as a result, let's do deals together. And if you're short sighted, you might think, oh well, I'm going to give up some profit on this one deal. I promise you, and I can show results, that I've made a lot more money as a result of working with other people and sharing the profit than I have if I was just, no, I'm going to do it by myself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you do your own deals, I'll do mine.
Mm-hmm.
I've made a lot more money with the abundance mindset of working with others. And it's way more fun too, because now
Mm-hmm.
you've got, outside of your own team, you've got other people who now feel on your team. So going back to like the sports, like camaraderie, like, you know, some of the guys that we know that I work with in my market are sports guys from football.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun to like hype each other up and get excited about doing deals and, you know, be yelling around the house and just having fun with each other. So
Yeah, man. I love even just seeing it going on, and like we said before, it's fun to see, awesome to see, and it's cool to see kind of that new age of just humanity, even just come more around collaboration and realizing that it's such like a mental foundational thing. And logically, it obviously makes sense that you'd rather have a little piece of a watermelon versus your own grape, whatever that
yeah,
expression is. But that's a hugely important mental framework to come out of that you can realize just life is a lot better when you have an abundant mindset and being able to work with people and realize that there's enough X, whatever you're into, for
yeah.
everybody out there,
So enough deals for
which is awesome to
everybody,
see.
and being able to not just have to do it all yourself and collaborating with other people and leaning on their skills or leveling you up to new types of deals or new types of relationships is a total game changer. So I highly encourage anybody who's listening to, you know, keep an open mind and be willing to work with other people. And if you're in my area in Central California, don't be shy to reach out to me and let's talk for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna get your contact info and have that in the show notes as well for anybody that wants to reach out and partner on something. What does the team look like in addition to your partner? That's a funny story that you're just making calls, which not only new wholesalers or investors should be doing calling people, but at least have someone in your team that's calling all the bandit signs and
Yeah.
FISBOs and everything like that. But what else does your team include in addition to your partner?
Yeah. So the team is going to be myself and my partner. Uh, and then we have our acquisitions manager. He was our first hire. Then we have an office manager. And then we have a leads manager who is really going to probably be more of an acquisition manager based on the way we're adjusting his position. That's something else I can go into in a little bit. And then we are looking to hire a business development manager that solely focuses on relationships. We haven't found the right person yet, but literally relationships all day long, talking to wholesalers, to realtors, talking to buyers, taking them to lunch, checking up on them, like just having fun and feeding off of those relationships.
Sounds like an amazing position to me as someone that's
Yeah.
a 99% eye on the DISC test.
Yeah.
Relationships and really being strategical and genuinely enjoying building those up long lasting and where you can provide value in unique ways. If you want to hit on kind of that transition from lead manager to acquisitions, which you're grooming, or maybe just like the philosophy of how you have your team structured currently to handle all the marketing channels and the amount to handle the amount of transactions and sellers that you guys are talking to on a monthly basis.
Yeah. So I started out handling all the marketing, all the inbound calls. And then my partner was doing all the in-person appointments that we needed. I would usually pre-close them before he even went, sometimes not, just based on the conversation. But he would go on the in-person appointments, get the contracts signed in person if needed. And then he would manage all the projects for the renovation stuff. But now that we're wholesaling, and we've scaled up over time, we got to a point where we had just so many leads and we wanted to get to that next level. So we knew it was time to hire that acquisitions manager. And it's hard to do that because that's your baby. That's the source of all your deals and your income. So it's hard to hand that over. But we put out a feeler, and it was actually another wholesaler in the market who we had been buying deals from. We had been buying flips from. And we recognized, like, all right, this guy's doing deals all on his own, so he probably has some of these good skill sets. So we hired him on, and continue to try to train and improve, and that's a whole new skill set, is managing people and being a good leader, and that's a whole nother arena and game to be good at, but yeah, so we got to that point where we just knew that we had to take our hands off and knew that we were going to keep pumping the leads through and we were going to get deals. So it's worked out great.
Awesome. Yeah, it's kind of like the mindset with switching from tight end to running back as far as managing leads. Like, man, I need to touch the ball more. Man, at first handing over all the leads to an acquisitions manager or another hire, lead manager, whoever, it's a little bit of a mental thing to get over with delegating. I love the quote. Our business coach says, something along the lines of 80% done by somebody else is 100% better than you doing everything 100%,
yeah.
Which is a little bit of a, mindset type thing to establish and get over and work through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I built up some really, really good closing skills and negotiation skills, and, would spend every waking minute trying to improve those and listening and learning to other people that are great at it. So sure, could there be some deals falling through, but potentially, but at the same time, to be back to doing that on top of all the other stuff I'm doing, just, it wouldn't make sense at the scale that we're at,
And part of that is always having the long-term awareness and perspective that over the long term, you're going to net a lot more positive by having all that stuff delegated out when you sit back and think about it. Cool, man. Well, let's keep going with the team structure here, and then whenever we want to close out, I want to be more than respectful of the time. I know that you got the wild boys and the daughter that may need to be put down for a nap here shortly. What would we like to kind of close off with here? I think that you may have, maybe, not to put you on the spot fully, but you may have some good metrics or KPIs to go over, and then just kind of visioning out the rest of the year here. We're probably going to look back at the end of our life and be like, damn, this was the craziest year of our life with
I know
COVID and everything going on, but
the market is hot. Things are wild.
Yeah.
Things, there's so many different tangents you and I could, dive into, and
we could literally do a mini series of all the stuff I want to ask you, but I want to be respectful of your time here.
A lot that are off topic from real estate too, that you and I like talking about, but I think, the relationship stuff that we're doing, continuing to build out right now, is super exciting. So I'd encourage people to lean on those relationships, whether they're, peers or people that are, above where you're at. So I definitely, of course, I got the gardeners coming outside too, so sorry for that noise.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's probably one of the most exciting areas of our business right now, is just building out the network side of the wholesalers and the agents. And then to answer your question about kind of what I'm doing now, I I still oversee all the marketing stuff, and then I handle a lot of the disposition stuff because once the deal comes in, I've got all the established relationships with the buyers, and I can just kind of tell right off the top of my head who's probably going to be the best buyer for this deal. And usually if I do choose to put an email together in MailChimp and send it out, a lot of these deals are selling within minutes of me hitting the send button. Sometimes I'll forget to, I'll hit send and then I'll start reading an email and then my phone just starts blowing up. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Oh yeah, I just sent this deal out. So, that's been pretty dang fun, is just kind of scaling that business up and just selling these deals while the market's hot.
Amazing, man. Love it. I think that's going to be some type of role, or there's going to be more focused on intentional relationship building and having that in there. So I'm pumped and excited to see that, man. Seeing everything that you got going on. Definitely rooting for you, and just fun to see you on podcasts or different meetups that you got going on. Hopefully we all can get back to meetups. I've hosted one here in Baltimore.
Nice.
Hopefully that can get back up and running.
Yeah.
So scheduled program here.
We started with the goal and mindset of wanting to expand our network of people and deepen those relationships. We started a meetup February of 2020. So we had our first one.
Right before.
We had 70 people show up for the first one. We had a great turnout. And then we scheduled the March one, right? And no joke, like days before we were about to have it, the news came out saying, oh, they're going to shut down everything. So we had one in-person meetup, and we've done some virtual meetups since. But we're going to start up pretty soon here of just the regular monthly meetups in person. And for sure, that's going to help on the strategy around building those relationships and growing in that area.
Amazing, man. Cool stuff. Like I said a couple minutes ago, we could probably have a mini series talking all things life and business, but I will start to put a bow on this now. Dean, man, appreciate your time on today. I know that you're probably selling some deals and doing some crazy stuff today.
Well, I'm sitting here, literally have all these text messages flooding in. I've got in one text thread, 14 unanswered messages, another 20. And I saw one come through that said, let's lock it up, send the contract. So hopefully we got some more deals locked up right now.
Hello, you guys are seeing an afternoon, or I guess just turning afternoon there in California, of a NFL stud turned real estate investor, kind of in the behind the scenes of what he's got going on. But man, appreciate your time today. Appreciate the way you choose to live your life, man. I can see that you're just genuinely always out to help people, which I love interacting. I appreciate that there's a lot of other people out there like that. What is the best place for investors in your area or people that want to reach out to you to touch base, talk deals, anything like that?
Yeah, I'd say the quickest and easiest place to reach me would just be on Instagram. If you guys just go look up at Home Helpers Group. That's the name of our company, Home Helpers Group. You'll see a picture of my face, and then you'll see, you can send me a message there. Let's connect. I love talking with people, whether you're new, brand spanking new, or you're very experienced. Like I said, the doors are open, and we share all our resources with people, pour our time and energy into helping people out and doing deals. And we work with a lot of like really credible, experienced, been around for years investors that just come to us because they know we're going to get the deal done. So, just reach out to us, and we'd love to connect with anybody.
Love it. Sounds good, man. Appreciate you and your time. Maybe we'll do another one, another interview soon here in the next quarter or so. Touch base, see how the meetups are going, the TV ads rolling along further, and everything you got going on.
Cool, man. Thanks for connecting.
Cool, man. My pleasure, man.
Catch you guys later.